Update. Would I be the a-hole if I refused to have intimacy with my husband? Original post. Around mid-August of 2019, me 28 female and my husband 35 male tied a knot between us. He has 2 kids from his previous marriage. He and his ex-wife are co-parenting their kids. I really love the kids. One of the major factors why I got married with him was kids. I have reasons for that. My father died when I was 15. My mom wasn't so highly educated, so with that last education qualification, she couldn't provide for me and my other 3 younger brothers all alone. So I started to do part-time jobs. I babysat, cleaned people's yard, took out pets for walk, did assignments of my classmates, etc. I earned really little money with that, but it helped my family a little bit. When I was 17, I took a food delivery job. One night, around 10 or 11, I was dropping food at the other side of the city. A drunk driver hit my cycle and I went into a terrible accident. The driver needed to pay a large fine for that since my condition was very critical. I had a lot of internal bleeding and damage. So because of that accident, the doctor confirmed that in the future the chances of me getting pregnant is very small, that it'll be a miracle for me to have my own kid. I was at the lowest part of my life because of that accident. I couldn't go out or do my work on my own. My family took care of me. It took me around 8 months to get well. At first, I didn't mind having a childless life, but when I started to notice my friends having families, I realized the beauty of motherhood. So I started dating guys with kids. My husband was my second boyfriend. We tied knot after we dated for 10 months. When I got married, his son was 11 and his daughter was 7. I got along with them well. It took them few months before they started to call me mama on their own. I left my job to be the stay-at-home mom for them. Honestly, I really adore them. I have a good relationship with their bio mom too. After COVID, we went to Belgium for our 2nd anniversary on 2021. The trip was all good and I remember feeling so loved. The day before we were supposed to come back to our home, he proposed the idea of opening our marriage. If I say I was hurt, will be an understatement. I couldn't look in his eyes without feeling hollow and sorrow. I said no multiple times after coming back from the trip, but he kept persisting. And after a couple of weeks, I gave up and agreed. He set the terms. I don't remember most of it, but few of his terms was to never share this information with others. We can't date our exes or friends. No emotional attachment with our partners. I'd always use protection. In his words, he still loves me. He only opened the marriage because he wanted to gain experience and use it in our marriage. I remember going to sleep hurt and crying all night. I gave up my job to take care of him and the kids, yet he yearned for another woman. We became distant. He noticed that and tried to initiate intimacy with me, but I don't feel anything at all. I just lay there until he is done. I also distanced myself from him. The idea of him having intimacy with other women while being in a marriage with me disgusted me. I couldn't look at him the same way I used to. We always have our location on so I could see where he is going. Those used to hurt me a lot until I became completely numb at this point. Now I don't see him as my husband, but someone I tied knots with to be a mother. Last year, I told him I want to start to work again. He got kinda defensive. He listed some reasons to explain why I can't work. And when he saw that all his tricks weren't working, he pulled the kids into the mess. He knew I have soft spots for his kids, but I didn't back down that time. He gave me a cold shoulder and went on a trip with one of his girlfriends. I applied to be a teacher at my brother's high school. He is the youngest of all my siblings and a sophomore. I'm teaching chemistry at a school. My husband was mad at me for having a job for a few months, but he relented and I started to give myself more alone time. Since the kids have extracurricular activities, they always don't stay at home. I have a friend circle from high school. I hang out with them every 2 weeks. I met a guy in my workplace. He is 29 and have 3 kids with his late wife. One day, I ranted about my whole situation. He showed interest in me after that. He is a nice guy. I went on few dates with him. Nothing physical happened between us. I think I am relying on him for mental support since he is very supportive of me. I haven't felt something like that for a long time in my life. Now, a few days ago, I went to the salon and cut my hair short to shoulder length. My husband complimented me multiple times that day. The kids went to their grandparents' house for summer vacation. During the night, he tried to initiate intimacy. Well, I straight up said no for the first time. I think he was taken aback. He had mixed expressions that I can't put a finger on. He started to use the husband card on me, and I put my foot down and said no. We had a huge argument, and he left. I saw his location. He went to one of his girlfriend's place. He didn't contact me for 2 days now. Now I'm conflicted. Even if I don't feel anything towards him, he is still my husband. I can't share this with anyone, so I need advice on this. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Info: is having children really worth a husband who demanded an open marriage and did not want to have financial independence? It wasn't like that from the early days. After COVID, I noticed some changes, but didn't really pay any attention. That time, all I wanted was to have a child to raise like my own. Before him, I dated another guy with a kid. He was nice, but he had a lot of issues. Plus, I resigned from my previous workplace on my own volition. I really wanted to devote myself to the kid's life. It was a mistake, but now I have a job which pays me double the amount than before. I still love the kids. They're all I could ask for in children. He was already cheating. He just wanted permission after the fact. Leave now. Girl, the marriage was over when he proposed an open marriage. Just divorce. Love yourself more. A man who truly loves his wife doesn't go outside a marriage for anything. Your husband just wants a stable life at home and someone to watch his kids when they're there and have his fun with another woman. He's selfish. Get some therapy, divorce, and live your life. And once you heal yourself, you'll be blessed with a man who truly loves only you. Don't waste any more time and tears on that man. Plus, he wanted her to be financially dependent, so she couldn't leave. And wanting to gain more experience for her sake? What a crock. OP, if you see these posts, take the suggestions. Leave him. He is using you as a live-in babysitter. Now for the first update. Last night I made a post about my current situation of my marriage and asked for an unbiased view. There are almost 300 people who responded and gave me advice. I couldn't respond to any of them since I was overwhelmed with emotions. There are a few things I want to clarify. Firstly, I met my husband after my graduation when I was looking for a job. I made things official with him after I had a job. We dated for 10 months before getting married. Secondly, his ex-wife and him were childhood sweethearts who married each other when they were in college. After the birth of their second child, they realized they don't have the same bond, so they got divorced and have 50-50 custody. Thirdly, few people in my previous post asked me to make things official with my coworker. I would do that when I'm ready. Currently, my mental health isn't in the best state. I'm working on it. Plus, I can't have intimacy with anyone whom I barely know. We've been co-workers about almost a year, but still I am not ready to take that step yet. Lastly, those who are saying I am using sex as a punishment, it's quite opposite. He barely comes home. He is always out with the kids or his girlfriends. I would love to add that he doesn't have just one, but 3 girlfriends. And yes, all of them are aware of my existence. Now to the update. Last night, I made a post about the current situation of my marriage with my husband, asking if I would be the a-hole if I refused to have intimacy. He hasn't come back in the last 3 days or contacted me. The kids talk with me daily. I had few conversation with their bio mom too. They're over at our parents' place. Honestly, I thought he will get over it or won't bother me for a long time, but I was very wrong. During lunch, my mom came over to visit me. She asked if everything was okay between me and my husband. I didn't lie this time. I straight up said no. We had a long conversation about my marriage and I was relieved after that. It felt so good after sharing everything with her. I am not ashamed to admit I cried like a kid in her arms while explaining everything. She stayed with me the entire day. Then she called one of my younger brothers, 26, and told him everything. Saying he was mad would be an understatement. She asked why the heck I would suffer that much and scolded me for a couple of minutes. With the help of my mom and brother, I packed my stuffs. I didn't leave with any of the things he got me. Most likely, we will get a divorce soon. I texted a short message in his number thanking him for being my husband, and I won't be continuing the marriage anymore, along with some personal stuffs between us. With the help of my friend and family, currently I am finding a lawyer. I don't know how long it'll take me to finally get out of the marriage. I left the house around evening and sent the messages around 7. After that, I muted his number. I also told his ex-wife about this. And needless to say, she was as much surprised as everyone, because it wasn't like that. She assured me that even after divorce, she will let me see the kids. I am really grateful for that part. Divorcing him will be easy since we always had separate accounts. I have little savings. Before I get on my own feet properly, I will be staying with my mom in our old house. I turned off my location before leaving his house, but it won't be long until he figures out where I am. He is currently messaging me, but I'm not strong enough to open them and read them, so I haven't responded or read his texts. Well done. If he gets upset, just remind him that he was the one who ruined the marriage by cheating. I say cheating because an open marriage only works if both partners are willing. A one-sided open marriage is just cheating. I hope OP listens to this. She did not agree to this and was browbeaten into submission. That's not an open marriage. He's been cheating on her and trying to justify himself. I know she needs her family to be strong for her right now, but hopefully soon she learns how strong she is and stands up to him and his BS. Good for you. You deserve a life where you are respected and your feelings validated. You will find true happiness as long as you keep advocating for yourself. Seriously, I'm so glad that OP followed what I read most people tell her. She deserves so much better. I must say, I will never understand why someone who is monogamous would ever agree to open a relationship in an effort to appease their spouse and save the relationship. It's over the moment they suggest it, and you might as well save yourself the time and pain of trying to work through it and divorce immediately at that point. Second update. Hi, it's me again. Thank you for all the support you guys gave on my previous post. I would write everything briefly as my lawyer suggested not to share anything too much. I got a lawyer the day after I left the house. He told me not to worry about anything currently. The divorce proceedings started a few days ago. My soon-to-be ex received the paper and he went ballistic. There were several emotional episodes from him. The proceedings will take time to conclude, at least 90 days. We had a prenup before marriage, so I won't be getting any of the assets. I don't want anything from him, plus my payment as a teacher is enough to fend for myself. I just want him to get out of my life and start everything over again. Lately, he have been messaging me a lot, telling me how he misses my cooking and stuff. It just weirds me out a lot, so I ignored his texts and calls. I only talk to him through lawyers. I used to feel trapped in this marriage, but now I feel a little bit free. Some relatives from his side contacted me. Mostly they're accusing me of letting him have his affairs. In their words, it's my fault that I couldn't tie my husband by the side and let him open the marriage. His mother sent few nasty texts, which I didn't expected from her since she's a woman too. I took screenshots of those. I might sue for harassment if anything goes further than just text messages or voicemails. He misses his bandmate. Stay away from this guy. He's bad news. He wants you to cook, clean, and take care of his kids. He doesn't respect you. Get your divorce. See the kids through his ex-wife and go no contact with him. Check out the book Human Magnet Syndrome. It has very good information on narcissists and codependency. Edited to add, did he say just once that he missed you? Missed your presence? Or was it just, I miss your cooking and how you fold my laundry? I feel like that's all very telling in how he feels about you. It's a very long rant. I didn't even read everything. But basically, he missed how I used to cook homemade food for him. He doesn't like stale food, so I used to cook fresh meals for him always. Overall, he misses me in his house. So he only misses the stuff you do for him. He's selfish. Not the a-hole OP. Be proud that you finally put yourself first. You are valuable and worth to be loved. It doesn't matter if you can't bear children. That's not your personality. You are more than your uterus. I hope you find someone who loves you for who you are and not for what you can provide. Labor, time, chores. Thank you so much for your kind words. All credit goes to everyone for my previous posts. It helps me realize what's right and what's wrong. Last story. Am I the a-hole? My son's dad is about to be homeless and I have an extra room, but I don't want him to live with me. I, 29 female, have an 11-year-old son. His father, 32 male, and I broke up 10 years ago. We have had a decent co-parenting relationship. Son lived with his dad and visited me on weekends/breaks. Until 2 years ago when I discovered that he'd been reported for truancy. His dad just wasn't putting him on a bus to school. Seems like he didn't want to wake up that early, so his dad would drive him to school 1 to 2 hours late a few times a week. Took my name off the school paperwork, so I wasn't informed until I called to get a copy of his report card. I immediately went to court and got primary custody. Son has been excelling in my school district. His grades have improved, and he's much happier. His dad still lives with his parents, and it's been obvious that he's getting more and more depressed. We keep getting called back to court because he's not paying child support. Hasn't had a job in over a year. This isn't an issue for me financially, as I have a very good job and I'm able to support our son by myself. The relationship between my son's dad and his parents has been awful lately. They're treating him like a child, and he doesn't seem to understand how much of a burden it must be for them to be supporting a grown man who doesn't contribute. For a year now, I've been encouraging him to get into therapy and offering to help him with his resume and applications. He accepts the help, but always has excuses on why now isn't a good time. Now, he's being kicked out. His parents gave him a notice to vacate and will likely be taking him to court to evict him if he doesn't leave. We've agreed in writing that our son will not be staying with him until he has a place to live, and my son is happy because his grandparents have been awful to him lately. Son's dad picks him up regularly to go to the park or the movies, and this is working for all of us for now. He claims he has nowhere to go, no one to stay with. He's applying to jobs now, but he doesn't groom himself. He smells bad every time I see him, and he wears dirty clothes. He hasn't had any success with interviews. I've tried talking to him about this stuff, and about getting into therapy once again, but he always has excuses that honestly don't make much sense. I just bought a house and it has an extra bedroom. I am insanely proud of myself. I love having this independence, not living in an apartment and having so much privacy. Some of my friends have been pointing out the obvious solution of offering him my extra bedroom until he gets on his feet. I'm half expecting him to bring this up himself at some point. But I don't want this. I don't want a roommate. I certainly don't want a roommate that struggles to hold down a job, doesn't clean himself, and will be parenting the child I've worked so hard to instill new responsible habits in. We have very different approaches to parenting, and it works well from a distance but would not work together. At the same time, I feel awful if my son's dad was homeless. But this is a result of his choices. I used the time without my son to create a good life for myself, and I don't understand why he won't do the same. I've been trying to give him resources for government assistance, 211, etc., but keep getting these excuses that make no sense whatsoever. Now for the comments. Letting him move in would immediately become one of the worst mistakes of your life. Not a-hole. I completely agree. I worked hard for this house for my son and I. Do not adopt their son just because his parents kicked him out. You already have one child to care for. And my child showers regularly.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to change my son's name for being the same as ex's late child? It might have been mine. I'll try to break it down. I, 28 male, was with my ex-girlfriend for 2 years. We broke up in 2016 when I found out she's been seeing other guys behind my back. Around that time, she found out she was pregnant, but obviously there was doubts if I'm the father. I refused to be involved unless I knew for sure the baby was mine, but we never got confirmation. It was a stillbirth, unfortunately. I never got to know who the poor boy's father was. The thing is, she named the baby after me. That was something I wasn't comfortable with, since we still didn't know if he was mine or not. But I tried to understand she was grieving a baby, and myself too, sort of, in a way. Haven't spoken to her in years. I'm with my fiancé now, and we're about to have our first boy in a couple months. She wants our son to be junior, and that's what we've said to some friends. No one has a problem with it, except my ex, because she found out through some friends that I still talk to. She's pissed that I would even think about naming my child this when that's our son's name. First off, I told her we never got that confirmation, so stop saying he was my son. Also, this is the name we decided to give our child and not going to change it. My family, well, really just my brothers, think I'm being way too insensitive about this with her. Because she lost a child, it is likely not easy seeing me start a family with someone else, while also giving them the name of her dead baby. It's not like we're in each other's lives, so really how would that impact hers at all? Unless she just stalks me and my family. Well, now it's like we're being a-holes for not wanting to change our son's name for my ex, and she's telling everyone who will listen about this. Want to be clear here. Am I being an a-hole? Now for the top comments. Context. Not an a-hole. If this ex isn't actively involved in your life, I see no issues. If she is, you are reminding her every day of her loss. It depends on your relationship with the ex. Like I said, we're not in each other's lives. So she cheated, got pregnant and didn't know whose it was, didn't respect that you said you wanted to find out if the kid was actually yours, and she named it after you anyway without your consent? I'm sorry, where do you think in this situation at all you are the a-hole? Named a stillborn child as well. in which case it doesn't even make it onto any official paperwork. Not shaming those who do, I understand it can be a form of closure. But she didn't have any chance to get to know the baby with that name. It almost sounded like she told Opie she had named the baby after him way after the fact. Name your child Junior and block your ex. Tell the mutual friends to shut their traps or end the friendship. Not today, Hall. This is the most insane not today, Hall baby name situation I've seen posted. Not today, Hall. I am sorry she had a stillbirth. It must have been very traumatic. She named the baby after you without your input or any verification regarding the baby's paternity. You've moved on with your lives. Why your mutual friends need to keep her updated on your life is beyond me. Either they just do or answer her questions. Your relationship with her is over. It was over before the stillbirth of her child. While she may consider naming your firstborn after you selfish or insensitive, I don't think it should stop you. Apart from a few mutual friends, you live completely separate lives and have no contact with each other. You and your partner have picked out your baby's name. It's no one else's business but the two of you. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my son the money I saved for his college fund? My son is 18 and is graduating high school. I started saving fund for him the day he was born. I always put a little bit in every week, as I do for my other kids as well. Over the years, I saved enough for him to go to college debt-free. He's always been a bright and hard worker. He ended up getting a full ride to his dream school. We are insanely proud of him. All was going well and he was happy and ready to accept. Until I mentioned that I will be able to use the money I saved for him on fixing up our home and putting the rest towards his siblings' funds. He got very upset at that and began to demand the money. I was caught off guard. I never expected him to react this way. Over the past week, he has been throwing tantrums, threatening to withdraw from his dream school and attend somewhere else. Last night, he came home and immediately started yelling at his little sister. He grabbed the plate of food she was eating and threw it across the kitchen. She ran to me crying. He came into the room, and when he saw me holding her, he said, "Yeah, hold your favorite child and ignore me, you witch." He left soon after and I haven't heard from him since. He ignores my calls and texts. My husband is furious and says that my son needs to move out immediately. I asked a couple of family members and they said that I am in default because I promised him the money and now I'm keeping it. I just don't know what to do. I'm scared that he will reject his full ride and attend a different school and go into debt and then demand the money. I've also never seen him so angry or call me a witch. I'm crying right now because my husband is pissed at me and him, and I have no idea where my son is or what he's doing. Am I the a-hole for not giving him the money? Should I just give it to him? You're the a-hole. You saved the money for your son. Your son worked his butt off and got in on a full ride, but he actually lost his college fund. So his high achievements changed nothing about his own situation, and you're the one that benefits from them. If you're proud of him, you don't take money away from him when he succeeds. I'm sure he feels like he got punished for being bright and getting a scholarship. That's essentially the message you've sent. You're the one that gets paid when he does well. Edit. I just want to be clear here that I don't think giving him the money right now is the way to go. But it is so rare to have your parents save that kind of money for you these days. I can only look back at my life at 18, 20, 22 and think how much of a difference that kind of money could have made in getting started. He may want to take an internship and need some cash to support himself, or he may want to go to graduate school, or he may want to buy a house. I think those are worthwhile uses of that money if it was truly intended for your son. I wish this was higher up. On top of that, what if he decides to go to grad school? What about housing, food, textbooks, etc.? All of that costs money, and not all, even full ride, scholarships cover housing too. Most of them just cover classes and stuff. But even if housing is included, textbooks are expensive as hell. And once again, grad school is also a thing. Everyone sucks here. You make a promise to a child, so that child works hard on the understanding that you'll fulfill the promise. In doing so, they get a full ride to college. Great. But instead of saying you'll use some of the money to help him get through college for the things not covered by the scholarship, like his phone and car insurance, etc., and keep the rest of it for if he wants to go to grad school or if he changes his mind on his course, you take away the college fund safety net you've promised him for years. I don't know why you expect your hardworking child to feel grateful to you for punishing him for his hard work. Especially if you told him that he'd be debt-free after his college education. He's an a-hole for the violent reaction, but that overreaction makes me wonder what else you've been doing to make your son feel like he's playing second fiddle to his sister. That resentment does not come out of nowhere. A-hole. I can't believe I'm bothering to create a username and comment. Posts like yours make me so upset, even though I'm 30 years out of college. I would be upset if I was your son. He worked hard and you want to use the money that was meant for his future on your house and other siblings? It could absolutely go towards his grad school. It probably pushed your son a bit to work hard to make you proud. Your comment, even though this may not be what you meant, is pushing him out the door and saying that he is on his own. That is how I would feel. He's young and at a pivotal, emotional time in his life. You kind of suck. And by the way, I'd ignore the throwing around of the word entitled in other posts. A bit overused. Do these people even have kids? If you are truly proud of your kid and not a jerk, don't gaslight him after years of promising that money was put aside for him. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my pregnant sister-in-law out of my car for throwing my coffee out the window? I, male 29, am not a morning person. Like at all. That's why I work night shifts and sleep in the morning. Days ago, I got back from my shift and slept for an hour. Then my fiancé woke me up asking me to drive her pregnant sister to the doctor's appointment at 10 a.m. I was tired and was supposed to be sleeping, but decided to do it. I drove over to sister-in-law's place and she sat in the passenger seat and started complaining about bad smell in my car. She said a pine tree air freshener in the rear view mirror had to go, so I removed it. She then said the pack of smokes was bothering her, but I wasn't smoking. I smiled and put the closed cigarette pack inside a glove compartment. A few seconds later, we were stopping at a traffic light when sister-in-law started itching her nose. I looked at her and asked what's wrong. She pointed at my coffee, looked disgusted, and said the smell was making her nauseous and told me to throw it out. I refused because coffee is my fuel. I get horrific headache if I don't drink it. Also, I paid for it, so there was no way for me to throw it away. She suggested that I drink it all at once then, but it was too hot. I had to take little sips, like, normal people do. Otherwise, my whole mouth would be damaged. I covered the top as a solution for her, but she got mad and said I was ignorant to dismiss a pregnant woman suffering like that. I started moving, and a minute later I saw her grabbing my coffee and throwing it out the window. I shouted, "What the hell?" And she told me that I never listen. I lost it, y'all. I just pulled over and told her I've had enough of her crap and kicked her out. She got into a screaming match with me, calling me names and whatnot. She wanted to get back in, but I locked the door and drove away, leaving her shouting. I got back to my place and my fiancé was at the door looking pissed as hell. She said she and her mom were livid that I kicked my sister-in-law out over coffee and making her miss her appointment. She reminded me I was being a jerk to her. I cleared the air on what went down, and I was still wrong for what I did. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I've been pregnant 7 times. You know what you do in this situation? I'm so sorry, but the smell of the coffee is making me sick, and I'm working so hard not to barf in your car. But it's touch and go. Is there any chance we can ditch the coffee and I'll give you $5 to get a new one after you drop me? Throwing someone's coffee out the window is appalling behavior, even when you're pregnant. There's no excuse for it at all. Also, if the coffee is still too hot to drink and full, it's incredibly dangerous to throw out the window. What if it hits someone or another car or bird? This is completely unreasonable behavior. Not the a-hole. First of all, I'm not sure why your fiancé thought it was okay to wake you up after 1 hour of sleep. Lack of sleep causes accidents. Her sister probably knew about the appointment for a while, should have found another solution. The sister-in-law being pregnant does mean you can be a peach for people who are doing you a favor. She threw the coffee out, you threw her out. Makes sense to me. She wouldn't have missed her appointment if she planned better or just behaved like an actual human. It happens a lot with her family. They constantly ask for me to drive them places. Why can't your fiancé take her sister to the appointment when you are sleep deprived? I can only sympathize about the air freshener as they are made with toxic chemicals that can cause headache, allergies for many, etc. The sister-in-law is an obvious a-hole for throwing out the coffee. But your fiancé's even bigger a-hole for feeling so entitled that you drive her sister to the appointment when you are sleep deprived. And why can't your fiancé take her or sister's boyfriend/husband, etc.? It's not even your job. My fiancé doesn't drive for medical reasons. Then your fiancé should not go around volunteering you for this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for backing out of agreement to babysit for a single mom after she lied about her severely disabled, wheelchair user, 11-year-old son? I, female 19, started working as a babysitter recently, as I do during this time of year every year. I received a call from a single mother wanting me to babysit her kids while she goes to work from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I met up with her. I always first meet up with parents and see where they live and how many kids they have, etc., etc., etc. But I found what she told me a bit strange. She said she has been desperately looking for a babysitter who is willing to babysit her kids, but couldn't find one. I mean, the area is full of babysitters available. Her house was close enough and the money is good, so I was kind of confused by her statement. She introduced me to her 2 kids, 7 and 4. They were super nice and polite. We talked about schedules/routine/their regular rules, and we agreed on almost everything. First day of job, I arrived at her place at 7:30, and I was puzzled when I saw a kid in a wheelchair. I asked who he was, and she said that this was her severely disabled 11-year-old son. I asked if she was expecting me to look after him too, and she said he was part of the deal, but he wasn't. I didn't know about him and did not think I was going to have to care for a disabled child. She told me I was overreacting and gave me a list of duties, such as changing him and feeding him at certain times. But I freaked out and I told her no. I'm not capable of caring for a disabled third kid in the house. We did not agree on that. I'm just a babysitter, not a carer, which what he needs. She said she wouldn't be worried as long as I'm an adult. Besides that, it's like caring for an infant, and asked me if I had never changed a diaper before. But this is different. This is completely different. I blatantly said that this doesn't work for me and decided to not babysit for her. She got upset with me, saying I can't back out of an agreement now after I let her on, and she thought she chose an adult for this job, but I was being unreliable. But she initially lied and hid her third son who's disabled and needs special care, and then expected me to go with the flow? She said that I should at least try for a week till she's got a willing babysitter, because she can't leave her new job and stay home with the kids. She begged me to stay, even offered more money, but I decided to leave. I got home and my parents asked me why I left my new job. I told them what happened, and my mom looked dumbfounded, saying I put that lady in a rough place by basically bailing on her when she was counting on me. What? Lol, no. Why would she think that? She went on about her being a struggling single mom trying to make things work, but I was acting cowardly and selfish and short-sighted. I asked Mom, "Are you serious?" And she responded by asking me to put myself in her shoes. But she wanted me to care for a severely disabled child, and I honestly got scared. This is a huge responsibility legally. Morally, it was a jerk move for just quitting without giving her a chance to find a replacement. And she kept calling for hours. Am I the a-hole? Definitely not the a-hole. And she knew exactly what she was doing. Care like that is a lot and costs a lot more. And she was lying to rope you into doing something you neither wanted to do nor are qualified to do. That's like hiring someone to load lorries, and when they get there, telling them they'll have to drive them as well. But I don't have a license for one. Oh well, you're gonna have to now. No, that's not how it works. Yes, she can't find a babysitter because she keeps lying to them. Exactly. My mom looked dumbfounded, saying I put that lady in a rough place by basically bailing on her when she was counting on me. That lady put herself in a rough place by lying to her potential employee about what the job entailed and counting on guilt to prevent Opie from bailing on her when the truth came out. Fix that for your mom. Well, if it isn't the direct consequences of my actions. You are neither a jerk nor an a-hole. Not an a-hole. She bait and switched you. She's in a tough spot and all that, but her attempts to manipulate and bully you into caring for a disabled son despite your assertion you couldn't does make her one. Your mom is sympathetic, but to the wrong person. If she cares so much, she should babysit for the lady. Not a a-hole at all. You said yourself, you're not a carer. What if something bad had happened? The kid's mom should have warned you beforehand. She changed the deal at the last minute. You're under no obligation to continue with the deal when they've changed the terms last minute. You did the right thing for you and for the kid. Your mom is just talking crap. Am I the a-hole for telling my female friend I don't care about her feelings? I'm getting married in 2 weeks. Last week was my bachelor party and several of my friends attended, women and men. During the party, one of my female friends, let's call her Kelly, got very drunk and confessed to me that she's not happy that I'm getting married and that she thinks my future wife is not a good match for me. She also confessed she's been in love with me since we were 21. Now we are 27. And that it hurt her feelings how I never realized and never did anything about it. Due to the fact that she was drunk, I completely ignored what she said and I was like, fine, okay, whatever, at that moment. I waited till she got sober to see if she'd say anything about this again. And 2 days after the party, she texted me and asked me if I thought about what she said. I told her to elaborate just to make sure she's talking about her confession. She was indeed talking about it, and I told her exactly what I thought. I told her I don't care what she thinks about me and my fiancé being a good match, and she's not the best judge of that since she claims to be in love with me. I also told her that I truly don't care about her feelings towards me and I don't know what she expected to achieve. She was shocked to see me responding like that, and she was like, you don't need to be rude about this. I replied telling her that of course I'll be rude. She's trying to ruin my wedding by thinking confessing to me will change anything. Told her to come back to reality and realize she's not playing in a movie and her confession is embarrassing. And instead of letting it go and blaming it on the alcohol, she pushed it and expected to see whether she'd actually have succeeded. I told her at this point I don't care about her at all. That girl apparently exposed me to our friends. She didn't tell them the whole story, and I had to explain to everyone what she really said and expected. My friends kept insisting that I acted like an a-hole, and just because I'm getting married, that gives me no right to invalidate my friends' feelings towards me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I also want to clarify one thing. Kelly has not been a good person towards my fiancé at all, especially during our first years together. She only fixed her attitude after I had several fights with her regarding boundaries. Due to her fixed attitude, I believed she changed truly. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. She's had 6 years to tell you how she feels and decided right before your wedding was the right time? Time to unfriend Kelly and go no contact. Also, she was mad he didn't notice she was in love with him and do something about it? Girl, if a boy doesn't notice you're in love with him, and then he falls in love with someone else, that means either A, he was never going to reciprocate your feelings no matter what, or B, you should have said something? Like back when it could have made a difference? As in, before his freaking bachelor party. You do not get to be mad at someone for not reading your mind. Not ever. You do get to be mad at someone for puking nonsense all over you and your relationship right before your wedding. Not a-hole. Are you kidding me? How did this confession not result in you telling Kelly you have been in love with her as well but never revealed your true feelings, out of fear she would not reciprocate? Then you and Kelly fall into bed and you break off your impending nuptials. Oh, because that scenario is a B-as-bad storyline from a very crappy romance ever written and/or produced. Kelly sucks. She has no respect or care for you as a friend. A real friend would support you and keep their silly crush to themselves. A real friend would have told you of their feelings long before you were in a committed, loving relationship and heading towards marriage. And your friends back in Kelly suck also. Friend or not, we should not co-sign people's messed up behavior. You're not a-hole. I wish you and your fiancé a beautiful wedding and a long marriage filled with infinite love, laughter, and prosperity. This was a funny read. Thank you so much for the well wishes for the wedding. Genuinely confused as to why your friends thought that you needed to be nice to her in this situation. This isn't some time where you were both single and she was pouring her heart out. This was her attempting to blow up your wedding after being historically unkind to your fiancé. If you wanted to be with her, you would be with her. But if you're not, you're with your fiancé. Therefore, you were not invalidating her feelings. You were asserting yours. She was trying to invalidate your feelings and your wants by pulling this last-minute malarkey. You don't have to be rude. Shove off, girl. She disrespected you and your wife. I'd inserted her drama during a time that is supposed to be exciting and blissful for you and your fiancé. What did she honestly expect to happen? Yeah, it sucks to watch someone you like be with someone else. But if you genuinely care for that person, you put on your big adult pants. Let it go, be happy for them, and move on to someone who is actually available. I tried to give her an out by letting it go after the bachelor party, and she decided to escalate the situation. Now she is dragging your mutual friends into her mess? No. Rudeness is exactly what you need to get through this woman. Revoke her invite and go no contact. Not stay home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my son to leave my house after he announced his engagement? My son Adam's 24 best friend Carlos, 25, passed away over 2 years ago in a car accident. This loss completely devastated Adam to the point where he lost his job. They were like brothers, and our family have known his family for years, so we're also very devastated over this loss. Carlos left behind his girlfriend, their now 4-year-old son. We don't know his girlfriend too well, since he didn't bring her around much. They were on and off till their son was born. Adam told me that he had been seeing and taking care of Carlos's family's needs, which is great. We were glad he was stepping up to make sure that Carlos's family were getting help. Adam also got a new job, and we sort of had limited contact for a few months. He started visiting us lately and looked different in general. He is now more calm and smiles more often. It is even open to talk about Carlos without getting too emotional. I was relieved and happy for him. But last week, he contacted me and his dad and said he had something to tell us. He visited and brought Carlos's girlfriend and child with him. We had dinner, and then all of a sudden, he told us that he and Carlos's girlfriend have started dating and announced their engagement there. I was in shock. I didn't expect this at all. I didn't know what to say, but I felt upset and shocked mostly. Adam noticed my reaction and asked what was wrong. I told him I never expected him to get with his best friend's partner, of all people, and talked about how bad this would look to Carlos's family who are close friends to ours. Carlos's girlfriend excused herself and her son to the bathroom, and Adam and I began arguing. He went on about how I upset his fiancée and that I should be supporting him, but I said that he should have told me, and that he shouldn't have got together with his best friend's partner, and perhaps use her grief to get her to date him. He acted shocked and called me unbelievable. That's when I asked him to leave my house. He got up and left with them. My husband said I messed up by making a scene and reacting the way he did. I went upstairs and stayed alone for an hour. It's been days and Adam hasn't called, and my husband kept trying to get me to speak to him, but I kept saying I needed time. You're the a-hole. It's been 2 years. The girlfriend is allowed to move on and find love again. I'm sure they grew closer in supporting each other, so this isn't surprising. Intimacy is not predatory. You accused your son of being manipulative and predatory without cause. You also made it seem shameful that she's moving on and not starting permanently a grieving widow, which I'm sure she's had to work through the emotions of already on her own. You behaved very badly to both of them. Right, they have something extremely big and important in common. By all accounts, her son is a decent stand-up guy. Why is she assuming he's done something horrible here? You're the a-hole. Not to mention, who else would Carlos want to be with his widow? I have specifically told my husband that if I pass away, that he should remarry, and if he can, he should marry a friend of mine or at least someone that he thinks I would be friends with. I want to get along with a second wife in the next life. This is an easy you're the a-hole. Carlos is dead. It's not like your son and a girlfriend are cheating on him. They probably both bonded through the grief of losing him. Is she supposed to stay single forever? Oh no. It's so terrible that your son and this woman bonded over a mutual loss and have fallen in love. And he decided that he wanted to continue to be in her and her child's life. Woe is you. You're the a-hole. Why are you so keen to find something wrong with his choice? It's not like the girlfriend is cheating. Carlos passed 2 years ago, not 2 days. Get over yourself and beg your son's forgiveness. You're the a-hole. Of all people. They're young, of similar age, and they shared a highly emotional thing. Didn't you suspect that this would draw them closer? It's beautiful that they found something positive in their lives and they'll never forget Carlos. I have friends where the exact same thing happened, and they're a strong, loving couple. I think you owe them an apology. I understand it might have taken you by surprise, but to not apologize now for your behavior would make you the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to resend mom my wedding invite after she gifted my wheelchair-bound, soon-to-be husband running shoes as a joke? I, female 29, met my fiancé, male 32, 2 years ago. He's wheelchair-bound, yes, but he's the most kind-hearted, generous person I've known. I'm not the prettiest or most intelligent one out there, but he accepts and loves me as I am. We met via group therapy because he lost his mom in the same accident that made him disabled. When he met my mom, I'm sorry this bit is hard for me to type out. He really hoped that he'd see her as his own, but she acted a bit rude towards him. She kept making jokes about him and teased him a lot. We arranged for a wedding that meets our budget. My fiancé's mom's death anniversary was last month. Mom joked about him being responsible for the accident, which created a dispute. I told Mom she'd have to apologize for making him cry, and she did. Then 2 weeks ago, she called asking if she could attend his birthday, and he told me to let her come. She came and was all loving and cheerful. She apologized for the past misunderstandings, and my fiancé was confused by her change of heart. We had a great time, till after dinner when she gave him a box saying this was her gift for his birthday. He opened it, and what we saw was a pair of Nike running shoes. He looked at her, and she started laughing, then said something about being optimistic and hoping he'd use them one day. I lost it, and we both started yelling at each other with her saying it was just a joke. I said this was utter humiliation, because she was basically rubbing it in his face that he is how he is. My fiancé said it was okay, but I had her step outside to talk. She kept arguing, saying she didn't mean for this to play out like that, and that he was being too sensitive and could use more therapy because his reaction should have been to laugh. I said she's no longer welcome to the wedding. She acted shocked, saying I was really taking this too seriously, but I insisted that she send back the invite. My dad joined us and begged that I take time to calm down and not make a decision I might regret later. She got into the car and was crying. Dad said we'd talk later, but I said nothing to talk about after she insulted my fiancé in front of my friends. Dad then got into the car and left. The birthday party got awkward, which led to guests leaving early. Dad kept calling me after I got the invite back to try to act like a mediator between us and got the family involved. They said this is my mom, and while she might have done something that was seen as offensive, excluding her from the wedding is too much, and asked me to resend her the invite so we could get this over with, but I kept saying no. Now for the comments. Not a-hole. I still can't get past the fact that she joked about being responsible for his mother's death. Yes, she could have started this with, "My mom's a monster." Not a-hole OP. I fear the statement is correct, and it's a fact that it's your mother that is in need of therapy to find out why she's so actively toxic, and maybe your father to root out why he is accepting of it. My soon-to-be husband's mom's death anniversary was last month. Mom joked about him being responsible for the accident, which created a dispute. Joked? Haha, you killed your mother. Is a joke? I would have cut her off after that one, and kept my husband away from her going forward. Just because she's your egg donor doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with her. Some people don't deserve it. Not a-hole. My only concern here is how you spoke about yourself. Firstly, it sounds like you have self-esteem issues, and that's likely from your mom. Your husband using a wheelchair doesn't make him less, and he isn't settling for you. He loves you, and you him. I wish you every happiness. Your mom has had a lot of opportunities to behave and improve her choices, and she hasn't. She isn't sorry, and I hate to think of her behavior on the day. No attitude change would be no invite, and continued clear boundaries. That said, people who use wheelchairs can still have cool shoes, and had she not made the jokes, I'd consider it a good gift. Completely agree, especially with the first paragraph. He is not with you because he accepts that you're not the prettiest or most intelligent out there. He's with you because he loves you. And you don't have to ever make excuses why you are with him either. Wishing you both a lifetime of mother-free happiness. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for wearing all white to my best friend's wedding and refusing to apologize? My 30 female best friend, 32 female, invited us, husband and I, to go on vacation with them at South Padre Island. She told me to bring the dress I wore to my last anniversary dinner for the special dinner/event she planned during the vacation. I said sure. I also recently gave birth, and that dress is an elegant black lace over nude dress that is very classy, but also form-fitting. When I tried it on when packing, I realized it wasn't as flattering and my boobs had a hard time fitting. So I packed a cute semi-formal white lace dress instead. I figured it was close enough. I arrived to the event and found out it was a surprise wedding where she only invited like 20 guests on the beach. She hadn't told me it was her wedding because of an inside joke. I kept telling them to get married and watch that they will elope. The next thing we know, they are married. She was horrified, and so was I. I didn't bring any other dress. Plus, there was no time to change/buy a new dress. Also, surprise, I'm the maid of honor. I offered to either not be the maid of honor or leave the wedding, but she rather me not. Later, she blamed me for ruining her wedding because I didn't follow her instructions to wear a specific dress and didn't tell her about changing my mind. I said I'm sorry her wedding was ruined, but it wasn't my fault, and she should have told me it was her wedding. And at the time of packing, I didn't find it appropriate to get her approval on my outfit. Lol, came here fully prepared to call you the a-hole, but you literally didn't know it was a wedding. It's a shame for the bride, but that's a risk you take when you pull a surprise like that. Not stay home. 100% agree with this. The bride didn't foresee any potential problems with her surprise. This is an important lesson for her about expectations versus reality. It makes me sad that she thinks you ruined the wedding because you wore white to a surprise. To me, a wedding is ruined if like the groom doesn't show up. You're not a-hole at all, and if they're happily married, you didn't ruin a thing. A real friend would be like, you remember the time you showed up to my surprise wedding wearing white? And we all have a laugh about it for years. My new sister-in-law came to see me as I was getting dressed for my wedding. She was wearing the exact same dress as the one I brought to change into before leaving the reception. We thought it was hilarious and made sure we got lots of pictures together. What made it even funnier was that we had each other described our dress to the other prior to the wedding, but apparently neither of us did a great job at that. I really think about half of the posts on this subreddit could be solved with this attitude. Don't people know a good story when they see one?